What do Warren Buffett, Peter Lynch, George Soros, and other Wall Street legends have in common? They're not even in the same league as Jim Simons. To put things into perspective, if you invested $1 with Warren Buffett, over 30 years, every dollar invested would turn into 237. That's a fantastic result. But if you invested with Jim Simons, net of fees, instead of making 237, you would receive over, can you guess? $4 million. The Oracle of Omaha doesn't even come close. So today, I'm going to reveal why Jim isn't the trader you think he is, how Jim Simons turned $1 into $4 million, and can regular traders use Simons' methods, and if so, how? And if you think that I can't deliver on the promise of how he did it, you're wrong. Renaissance Technologies was involved in a court case that forced them to disclose their most important secrets, but more on that later. For those of you that don't know, Jim Simons is a brilliant mathematician who went to MIT, taught at Harvard, and has a three-dimensional topological quantum field theory named after him. Yeah, crazy stuff, right? His brilliance isn't up for debate. But do you know what is? Jim being coined the greatest trader on Wall Street. Instead, he should be called the greatest entrepreneur on Wall Street. Jim believed in an idea, sold that idea to some of the smartest people on the planet, and then these brilliant people collected data and built trading algorithms under Jim's supervision. And do you know what you get when you have the world's smartest people creating trading algorithms? Lots and lots of failure. In fact, they failed for over a decade. But the good news is failure isn't fatal. Eventually, Jim's unrelenting passion found a way, and he and his team made billions. And if you don't believe me, check out the timeline of events in the comments below or this fantastic documentary. And that brings me to the next question. How exactly did he turn $1 into $4 million? Remember that court case? In 1998, Deutsche Bank developed a basket option product named Managed Account Product Structures, or MAPS. These basket options allowed Rentech, which is just short for Renaissance Technologies, to own an option on their portfolio held at the bank. In essence, it allowed them to leverage their trading 20-1, much higher than the legal limits, and protect them in any black swan events. It was a fantastic setup for them. And if that wasn't enough, it turned short-term trades into long-term gains, reducing Rentech's tax bill. These basket options were so amazing that many Rentech employees moved their entire life savings into Medallion once they realized this was basically a cheat code. Now let's see if you've been paying attention. What do you get when you use options to leverage your returns over legal limits, reduce your risk, and convert your short-term profits into long-term gains? Yeah, an angry US government. After about a decade of Rentech using these options, the US government investigated Renaissance and others for tax evasion. And these options give us the map to how Renaissance trades. See what I did there? And here are two statements from Renaissance lawyers taken verbatim from the hearing. We collect all of the publicly available data that we can find that we believe might bear on the movement of the prices of tradable instruments. News stories, analyst reports, energy reports, crop reports, weather reports, regulatory filings, accounting data, and of course, quotes and trades from the markets around the world. Our models use this data to make predictions about the future price changes. Although we use different strategies in managing our different funds, all of our strategies depend on the output of our data-driven models. And now for the model. And again, sorry for the verbatim, but I think it's important to understand the details. And these aren't my words, these are Renaissance's lawyers' words. The model developed by Renaissance for Medallion makes predictions that are profitable only slightly more often than not. Moreover, the predicted price movements can be easily overwhelmed by external events. To compensate for these factors, the model generates a large number of recommendations so that by the virtue of the mathematical principle known as the law of large numbers, the variability of these returns produced by the model is greatly reduced. However, and this is a key point, because the model's recommendations are expected to be only slightly more profitable than not, the rate of return obtained by applying the recommendations to an unleveraged portfolio would be very small. Leverage magnifies the effect of the positive changes in the overall value of the portfolio on the rate of return, and this effect is greater than the higher of the level of leverage employed. Medallion's barrier options with Barclays and Deutsche Bank provide a high leverage necessary to take optimal advantage of the predictions made by Medallion's model. And if this is really confusing to you, I'm going to make it crystal clear. And if you don't know me, my name's Leo. I am an algorithmic trader. I've built neural networks to trade, some of them unsuccessfully, and if you want to check out my code channel, you can. But long story short, there's no magic behind Medallion signals. Jim is on record stating that the signals are mostly statistics and machine learning. And frankly, the technology we have today is significantly better than what Jim and his team had decades ago. So if the signals are something that any of us can develop using a little computer programming, where does the alpha come from? Sandor Strauss. Sandor was a man who had a passion for collecting and cleaning data. He basically eats data like Pac-Man eats Pac-Dots. This guy loved collecting data, and I'm not just talking about a little data, I'm talking about over a terabyte a day. And if data is the new gold, Renaissance is sitting on a gold mine. But don't just take my word for it. When you talk to quant managers, they'll tell you the same, often stating their biggest advantage is their data. Renaissance has been collecting precision data from various venues for decades, and I'm not just talking about surface level stuff. I'm talking about minute details such as the network latency for every trade so they can understand how latency builds before volatility spikes. And here, I thought I was cool with my 5 terabytes of data on my Synology NAS. I guess the joke's on me. There's really no data like more data, especially when that data is your own. And since RenTech were the first movers collecting that data before anyone else, the edges they have in the marketplace aren't seen because Renaissance already arbitraged them away. That's the secret. It's their data they must protect, and if you think I'm wrong, riddle me this. The Renaissance funds open to outside investors have underperformed both the market and the competition. In fact, Renaissance Institutional Equities Fund, or RIEF, and the Renaissance Institutional Diversified Alpha, RIDA funds performance was so poor that they made the HSBC's top 20 losers list of 2020. Meanwhile, in the same year, Medallion gained 98.5%. So can regular traders use Simon's methods, and if so, how? So now that you know that the Renaissance true edge is in its data, what can you take from this to improve your trading? If you can create a custom data set, do it. After all, like I said, almost every hedge fund says that it's one of their most important sources of alpha. But if you can't, you can trade data that Wall Street is either not looking at or is too slow to consume. This is how Chris Camillo uses social arb to trade Twitter and TikTok data before Wall Street has time to notice a narrative change. And if you don't want to do that, go where Wall Street can't. After all, it makes no sense to put an army of PhDs into developing a model where the market is too small to move the needle. Remember, these places have to throw billions around. So there you have it. Renaissance secret sauce isn't its expensive technology, its advanced algorithms, or even its ridiculously high average IQ. It's the data. And similarly, Jim's secret weapon isn't developing trading algorithms or his mathematical brilliance. Again, he's super brilliant. But it's his entrepreneurship and his sales skills and the relentless pursuit of one's passion. And if you want to learn more about how Jim became the Quant King, watch this documentary that covers his rise to power and how Jim really actually isn't who you think he is.